Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the evening, depending on when you're doing your zone 2 work. It's your boy, Matt Mason. And today I'm joined with two very special guests. First, we have the fastest woman in Hyrox on the Jersey Shore. She is one of the fastest people in Rich Ryan's small group. She's very humble, though, because I was trying to plug her for things that I could say about her. She's like, no, that won't work. That won't work either. So she might be the most humble person in the Hyrox sport because everyone else likes to brag. And then also, we have the scariest man in Milwaukee. Rich Ryan hates to see him coming on a course. His internet also hates him, too, because he's frozen right now, but we can still hear him. We got Marcus Wallace. What's up, Debo?
Hello. I do not like how I'm frozen currently. I hope I come live soon.
All right, why don't you actually try to drop out of the studio, then hop back in, and Michelle and I will get it going.
Yes.
Awesome. Michelle,
Michelle Navarro. You didn't announce my full name.
I'm so sorry. That is, this has been a quite the interesting setup into this. We have had the Wisconsin boys have had. You would think that we lived in the boonies with the way that our technology has been working this morning. We've had broken cameras, unstable internet. I mean, it is, sheesh.
It's going out the window already.
We're gonna need Rich to up the production funds. We might need to get like Starlink up in here for Debo and I to be able to successfully podcast. Debo, you're back.
Oh, we got him.
We got him. Yes, we have Michelle Navarro, the most humble athlete, definitely the most humble athlete from Jersey, and on the show. How are we doing today, everybody?
We're good. It's Friday. Feeling good. Ready for the weekend.
Nice. Anybody else got Resolute in their cup? Well, shout out to our boys at Resolute Coffee.
I don't.
We're not even sponsored by them. I just love it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I've been on a new coffee kick. I got a pour over and a nice tea kettle for Christmas. So I've been
are you V60ing it, Michelle?
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's V60 is a method of pour over for coffee.
I actually don't know. I'll have to look that up. But I am getting, the coffee beans and grinding every day. So I'm going to have to try Resolute now.
Nice. Well, you know what, Michelle, for joining the show, you get a bag on me. I will message you after and we'll figure out what kind of coffee you like and I'll send you something nice.
Awesome. Thank you.
Also, since you are in small group with Rich and Chase are two of the biggest coffee snobs I know. So if you're looking for recommendations, they'll definitely be able to help you out.
All right.
Debo, how you been, man? You know, we're good now. The internet's settled. Yeah. Are you settled?
I'm settled. Yeah, I've been missing Hyrox. It's been such a long break. Looking forward to getting back in. We still got a couple weeks though.
You forget how much Hyrox, when they're like going, you forget how often it happens until it's only been like 3 weeks since we've had a race. And it feels like a lifetime because they're running at this point like 2 to 3 races a weekend. And so like, I think all of us are just like, yeah, when can we race? Yeah, what do we do? Exactly. Well, with that, we are going to have a little bit of fun today. So I have asked Michelle and Debo to join me. Today's show, what we're going to talk about is predictions for the rest of the year, for the sport overall, for the men's field, for the women's field. And then we're going to make some way too early predictions because, as we just mentioned, we haven't had any races and it's still another 2 weeks before we have races. The next race actually is the Manchester race on January 24th. So we're still 2 weeks out, right? Yeah, that's 2 weeks from now. So we still have quite a bit of time. And then we get kind of fast and heavy again with Vegas and Maastricht happening. So
yeah, that second weekend back, there's actually 4 locations. I don't know if that's been done before.
I know we've definitely done.
There's definitely been at least 3. I'm not sure if
there's definitely been at least 3. I don't know if we've done 4 in a weekend. Quick. How do you think Christian and Mo decide where they're going to go? That's a fun debate. How do you think that? Because they're always there. They're always at one of the races. So how do you think they decide where they're going to go? You think it's like where like the best party is afterwards?
I believe I've heard Christian. He has a list of his favorite restaurants in the world, and that's where he always ends up going.
I heard that too. That he that they will never have a Hyrox in a city that they don't enjoy being in.
I think that's fair.
So, Marcus, I don't think we're ever going to get a Hyrox Milwaukee.
They might enjoy if they came, but yeah, I doubt it would be on the radar currently.
You think we'll ever get a Hyrox Jersey Shore?
I don't know. There's not really, I don't think there's any big complexes down here. They were doing New York in New Jersey, technically. So I'm not sure.
Is that where the pier is? Or is that what you're saying before?
They have it now at the pier in New York City, but they did it in the Meadowlands for a little while in New Jersey, technically.
Oh, got it. Got it. The house that Aaron Rodgers built. We'll leave that one. All right. So today, like I said, we're going to cover some predictions, what we think or what we expect to see the rest of the year. And we're going to have some fun with it. And we could do this debate style. We could go, if you watch, anyone watches Stephen A. Smith on First Take on ESPN, if I say something you just wildly disagree with me, just tell me. So, Michelle, since you are a first-time guest on the show, I'm going to let you go first. Hit us with your first, your first prediction for Hyrox overall for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So I think that for all of the courses, it seems like they're doing a pretty good job streamlining, which is exciting. This is really going to be my second year in Hyrox, so I haven't had crazy courses that vary so much in time, but I feel like by the end of this year, some of these qualifications to get into the majors, it's going to be like a minute less than the times they are currently. So right now, I think top 15 for female is 103. I see it going down to 102, especially if they continue to streamline the courses. And then the guys, I think, are at 57. We might see like 56 something to get into the majors. I just feel like it's going to continue to get faster just because they're doing a better job streamlining the courses. And of course, everyone is just figuring this stuff out. It's getting really competitive.
So 62 for the women and 56 for the men. Marcus, you're an Elite 15 hopeful. What do you think about that?
I think at least looking on the men's side, I would be very surprised if it got that much quicker, especially for qualifying for majors. There's only so many. I mean, the last major's March 16th, so you're looking at qualifying being early March would be the last time. There's only really 4 weeks there.
Could go next season though.
Yeah, next season.
Yeah, for next season. Yeah, I mean, I guess eventually, yeah. Especially if I think what they need to do with these courses, they're just going to be so overcrowded. Hopefully they can get it where everything's like a 2-lap course. The more track there is out there, the less crowding there will be always. So I have one thing I want to talk about the courses, but yes, I think times, they're going to continue to get faster quite a bit.
I agree with Michelle I agree with both of you in the sense of 56 on the men's will be blazing, but I do agree with Michelle that I do think that the women's time, I do think it's probably going to take a 62, especially with some of the times that some of these women are running, which I went back and looked. Anybody have a guess at how many at World Championships just, I guess, 18 months ago? So in Manchester, anyone have a guess at how many women ran better than ran 62 or better?
2.
4?
3. So Lauren won with a 59.51. Meg ran a 60.23, and Belle McFarlane, the one season wonder, ran a 62.11, and then Vivian Tafuto took 4th with a 64.04. Then it was 64, 64, 65, 60. There was 5 people 65s, a 66, a 68, a 69, and a 72. Which is just crazy that back then, I mean, granted, championship racing is a little bit different than time trialing, but point still stands. Like, we're now talking about like all of the women being capable of running a 62 or better. And back then, like it was really just Lauren and Meg.
Yeah. Yeah. It's changed quite a bit. I feel like more people are just coming out too. I think that's definitely, it's gaining in popularity, which is exciting. And yeah, more people are showing up.
Yeah, and we're seeing younger athletes like Lucy Proctor and some people on the women's side who are still probably close to their athletic. Like I often think like what could my potential have been if I just would have kept going from college athletics right into Hyrox instead of right into Miller Lite for 10 years,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that. Okay. Bold prediction right out the bat. So 62 for the women, 56 for the men. Marcus, what is your prediction for the rest of the season for Hyrox overall?
I guess I could couch this as a prediction. We have the new Berlin course coming up at the beginning of February. Hyrox Auckland in New Zealand. An outdoor course, and I believe it's going to be on a 1K track. If you go on Google Earth, there's a 1K track at the Hyrox Auckland showgrounds, which is where it's going to be. So I'm not sure how many APAC people are going out there, but if they are able to get on that course, we could see some crazy fast times once again.
That sounds awesome.
Marcus, do we need to look up flights from Milwaukee to Auckland?
That is the only thing. Yes, it's so far away from people, but yeah, based on, I mean, there's definitely a lot of those Berlin people from last year ran those and never came close again. So it does show that how much the course, and I mean, if this is actually a 1K, I believe Berlin was out and back for the 1K. If this is just a 1K loop, I think
no. So crazy. Berlin wasn't even a 1K out and back. It was a straight line. So you exited, you go out, down, in, and then all of the stations were in a line. So like I guess there was a back through the rock zone, but it was basically a straight line run through the rock zone. So you just kind of went up and down.
Interesting.
So yes, that is
So what's your prediction coming out? That's going to be is that your prediction? It's going to be the new Berlin?
Yes, that we have a second course that may not be verified.
I would love to see the Rich Ryan reaction show to Hyrox Auckland if we've got like 4 people drop it. Well, actually, it doesn't. You know what? Our boy doesn't even care anymore, right? He's a 54 guy now. He doesn't even care. It doesn't even matter.
He's good.
It doesn't even matter. He's good. It doesn't matter. That dude's living his best life. All right, that's a good one. My prediction for Hyrox overall is I think that the sport will actually grow more through the elite doubles than through the elite singles.
Yeah. It'll be
spicy take.
Interesting to see how many people continue to do them. We've only had one so far, right? In Australia?
Yes. And no offense to our Australian brethren, but we did not necessarily see the top end. We saw some very, very high level APAC runners, but we have not seen any of the quote unquote elites yet race in that because Joanna did not race. JK did not race. I think he's planning on racing in the States. He was very coy about it on last week's episode of Rundown about where he was racing and who he was racing with. But yes, we did not see the top end yet, which I think which makes sense because as we just talked about with Auckland, it is literally on the other side of the world.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's what it's going to take, I guess, right? Like we saw people going out to Hong Kong. So they're kind of going to be everywhere. So it just depends on where you want to go. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be exciting to see who ends up going to the rest of them for this season and just see how they play out. I would love to see how competitive they are combining 2 people and, seeing how they match up against another 2. It's definitely a different dynamic.
Yeah, and I think it actually opens a pathway for other sports a la CrossFit to get involved and compete. And so my thing is like we talked about this before, where even if every Elite 15 athlete decided to do the Elite 15 doubles, which they're not, like we know that Ryan Kent's not going to do it, or at least he says he's not going to do it. I don't think Hunter has any plans currently to do it. Like even if they all did do it, you're looking at that's a total of 7 teams effectively. And so you still have another 8 teams available. So there are going to be new names. But I think like it would be interesting for someone like a Tia Toomey, who is now hanging out, or not, I shouldn't say now, has been training with James Newbury, and now she's friends with JK. And like, is that something that like she could do, because it doesn't necessarily require the high end training demands of a solo race to get to where she would be ultra competitive there, and that she could still do her CrossFit training on the side? Like, could we see more, as an example, going back to last season, like a Ricky Garrard as an example, who wasn't necessarily the fastest runner, but he outstationed everybody and was able to drop a fairly decent time for his first Hyrox. Like, could we see someone like that pair up with someone and be competitive? I'm not saying that they're going to win, but they could maybe sneak into that Elite 15 doubles field. And then if they do, that just brings that much more visibility to the sport. And then we grow from there.
Absolutely. I like it personally just because of my running background too. If I'm pairing up with someone else, that means I get a break in between and I can run at my almost top speed, So that opens a lot of doors for people with a solid running background as well. You're not doing all of the stations, you're splitting it and you're getting that break. So it definitely makes it a lot faster. And I think that it would be good for a lot of the top runners in the sport as well.
Debo, as an Elite 15 doubles hopeful, what do you think?
You started talking about Elite 15 doubles and my heart rate just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it a lot. But yes, I do have a vested interest in this, but CrossFitters, I am not worried about at all in a doubles race.
To be clear, I'm not saying that I'm worried about that. I'm just saying I think that I think that's going to cause the sport to grow more, because it opens more pathways for people who may not necessarily want to focus on the solo side to actually come in and race.
Yes, and to be so the people I think it may attract more could be like more endurance based sort of triathlon. So they have the running, and then they only have to do half the stations. Obviously, they are at the pro weights, but I think it might be more manageable. So I think it is good to attract those people. What else I think is good is that it is such a simple qualification process. 5 events, top 3 at each event go through. So that could, someone wants to break into this Elite 15 and get into a major, they got to first get 2 time qualifying, then they got to go to the major, then the world championships. Whereas this could just be 1 and they're in the world champ. So I think keeping that simple is something that I think is really good for that. And also something that they could maybe use for like individuals as well. Because now if Tia wants to break in individuals, really her only chance is to go to Barcelona.
Yeah. I do think that they will. I think that that I don't know anything, but I think that they're just testing this out, and that this will probably be the method that they go with for next year. Or at least that's my hope, because it just makes sense.
I agree.
Like it just makes sense.
It's discouraging seeing the time differences. The courses aren't the same. It's just not going to be the same race. And to compare everybody based on time to qualify, it really is. It's a challenging thing. So it really does make logical sense to just race the same race and qualify, at the same place.
Well, even the elites now are more publicly, and not even like the people trying to break into the elites, but like the people who are firmly in the elites are now even saying it's not standard. I think Meg Jacoby has said it's not standard. Hunter used to say like, oh, people only say that if, they're not good enough or can't get in. But now even Hunter admits that they're different. I think on last week's episode, JK said that, Vegas and Glasgow might be the equivalent of doing an uphill 10K versus doing a downhill 10K.
Oh,
right. Wow. These are like 3 of the biggest names in the sport right now who are all saying who are all acknowledging it's not the same. They're not the same. So why are we continuing to judge people off of, these courses where there's clearly discrepancies? So, all right. So I don't necessarily have Debo doesn't necessarily love that take, but he doesn't hate it either. Probably because he wants people to stay away.
No, bring on all the CrossFitters. That's what I want.
All right, okay, respect. It could, we could have we could have someone from a high level. We have seen a couple of high level triathletes do it this year. There was another gentleman over in Europe, I believe. The name escapes me. Maybe Pelayo can, if Pelayo listens to this, he can teach me a couple of things. But there was someone I know who did it in the fall who did pretty well. So interesting. All right. 62s, 56s. Marcus thinks that Auckland is going to be filled with all kinds of controversy. Maybe we can get boots on the ground, see for ourselves. I'll bring my wheel and measure that 1K. And doubles is the future. Those are our predictions overall. All right.
I have one more quick one.
Oh, yeah. Bring it.
Something I'm maybe a prediction, something I'm looking forward to. Continuing to have bigger sponsors come into the space. Obviously, Puma has quite a relationship with Hyrox.
What do we think about those shoes?
I don't want Hyrox written on my shoe, if I'm being honest.
Dude,
but
people, these are the most polarizing shoes that I've ever seen come out. I have not met. No one is in between on them. You either think that they're awesome or you think that they're ugly, and everybody thinks that they're ugly. If the people that think they're ugly, it's because of the big Hyrox.
Yeah. Well, okay. In the graphic, I feel like there was one where it had it on it and then it changed to the Puma. So I don't know if it's actually. I don't know. I have to look at them again, but coming from
I don't like the highlighter green.
Yeah. I mean, it's bold, but that's what all of the shoes I feel like are like. I still road race pretty heavily, so I'm an Asics person. I have been since 20 years ago when I first started
the Meta Speed Skies.
Meta Speed Sky. So it's hard
Shout
for
out
me.
BK.
Yeah. It's hard for me to break out from what I know. However, I do tend to have some issues sometimes with them. But I feel like nothing's perfect. I don't know. Maybe we'll see if these are really, really good for Hyrox, but I'm definitely skeptical.
I was a big fan of the Deviate Nitro 2s. And from what I can tell, the Deviate Nitro 3s are a couple of enhancements and updates. So they're probably pretty good. What I'd be curious on is the elites. The Elite 2s were not good for Hyrox. Supposedly, according to Meg, the Elite 3s are. I just don't like the way that they like. I don't mind crazy colors, but the green, it's something about the green for me that I don't love. There was one that I saw that was green and white. That was a little bit better. Here in the States, we always get shafted on cool shoe colors. Like, it doesn't matter if it's Sauconys, Pumas. But the ones that I like are the ones that JK has. They're like, I don't even know how to describe them. He's got some, but they're like red and they're like multicolored, and those look cool. But yeah, well, I'm excited to see what sponsors come in as well. It'll be interesting. It's definitely gaining in popularity. So, I mean, if you want to make some money, the sport is not slowing down. And I don't think that it is going to. I think that it is. I think that they were onto something with the accessibility of it, and now we're seeing a lot of copycats across the space. So that'll be interesting.
What do you think?
All right.
What kind of?
Go for it.
I was just going to say, what kind of sponsors do you think might show up? Do you think there's going to be more than just one shoe sponsor, or do you think it's going to be another space?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that Puma doesn't scare off people from sponsoring. I know like Cross had a similar thing where Reebok was the title sponsor, and then Nike swooped in with the Metcons and took a lot of the athletes. And obviously there's a lot of other brands in there now. So hopefully other brands continue to come in from apparel, footwear. I know Red Bull obviously picking up some people now is huge. So yeah, I just hope it continues to grow.
Yeah.
Well, Reebok's trying to break into Europe. I mean, they've got Camilla Massa. I've also noticed that some of the other European athletes seem to be wearing more Reebok. This is also just pure speculation, but just following some of the Elite 15 athletes, looks like we've got some recovery brands potentially trying to make their way in. Like, several of the Elite 15 athletes have been using Mod Tub. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I have noticed that several of the athletes are, what's the app called? Influenced me because I got it because my mobility is
GoWad.
GoWad because my mobility is piss poor. GoWad. But they obviously have an equipment sponsor in CenterFit. They have a supplement sponsor in My Protein. So yeah, it'll be. What else would there be? Like we have apparel with Puma.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping that maybe they hop in with sort of individual athletes. So
that would be cool. Like if we had like our like the
My Protein.
Yeah, like the Olympics where they have like there's Nike athletes, there's Adidas athletes, there's
That'd be
like
awesome.
Michelle mentioned Asics. So yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Getting into the specific fields. We don't need to go to predictions yet, so we don't have to have predictions. But Debo, we'll go to you since Michelle started. Debo, what do you think that we need to watch out for in the women's field the rest of the season?
Number one thing I'm looking at is 3rd, 4th, and 5th from last year's World Championships. Vivian Tafuda, Viola Oberländer, and Linda Meyer all still looking to secure a spot for this year's World Championship. So sort of seeing where they're at. It seemed like all three of them maybe were dealing with some setbacks. So see if they can get a spot in one of these next 2 majors.
Dude, us Milwaukee boys are aligned. I'm so frustrated. I was like waiting to like come in and be like, everyone forgot about Linda Meyer and Viola Oberländer. Put some respect on their name, and then you just took it right away.
That was mine too. I was gonna shout out Vivian. I'm waiting for her to come back. She's always impressed me. When I got started in DECA, she was one of the top, and I was really excited to see her success in Hyrox too. So I'm looking forward to seeing her this year and seeing what she can do.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because like when you look at the World Championship qualifiers already, it's Lauren, Meg, Joanna, Kate Davey, Ida, and Lauren Griffith. And I think I was actually talking to Rich about this yesterday, and like it's like people have like Hyrox is like such a recency thing. Like we'll get into this on the men's side, but like in the sport of Hyrox, like I shouldn't say nobody, but like a lot of like the new fans or like the new people into the sport, they may like know who Hunter is, but I don't think that they like have like the respect of like how dominant he was. Like they just view him as being on the same level of some of these other guys. Right. And I think on the women's side, like this year, we've like been having these conversations of like, oh, like the ascension of Joanna and Kate Davey, and those are great athletes, and those are definitely people that you have to watch out for, and they're definitely people who are going to be a factor at World Championships. But people forget that Linda Meyer like was right there as being like, if Meg or Lauren made a mistake, like she was always right there to either overtake them or potentially kind of take that next step. And I know we talked about this on the awards show 2 weeks ago, but I don't think a lot of people realize that Viola actually crossed the line second at World Championships.
Right.
There was obviously the whole like snafu, but like I think it'd be foolish to think that the three of them aren't going to play a role in the outcome of the rest of the majors and at World Championships. Absolutely.
It could have been a completely different lineup within seconds if we didn't have any issues with the wall balls. Yeah, so excited to see what they all can do. I feel like it's open for them. They have the experience, and I think that's something that plays a huge factor in, especially at the elite level. How many times you've done these races, I feel like you can kind of pivot and figure out based off of pacing what is going to be best and how to respond a little bit better than people who aren't as familiar, or it might be their first time. So I'm really excited to see what happens with those three for sure.
Definitely. My prediction or my what to watch for the women's field. I think that what will Meg Jacoby's health be like June? Don't want to spend too much time on this because I'm not a doctor and I don't want to get into people's medical situations, but obviously Meg has been very public about what she's going through, her rehab, everything else. And I do think that the best shot for some of these other names that we just mentioned, I still think it's a 2-horse race on the women's field. I think it used to be, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see. If you're listening on Spotify, you can't, but I'm using my hands. It used to be like Meg and Lauren up here, a massive cliff, and then everybody else. It's not like a massive cliff, but it's still a drop off. Like they are still 1A and 1B compared to everybody else. And I think that the best shot for someone to overtake them is for the two of them to battle it out and potentially crack the other. Although neither one really ever cracks, for the record, but that is probably the best shot. And so if Meg isn't the Meg that we have seen over the last 2 years, does that result in a runaway for Lauren or really a runaway from Lauren from everybody else? Because if you don't have the two of them going at it, I think it's, if it was betting, I mean, obviously you have to run the races and anything could happen, but if Meg's not in it, I mean, Lauren is the overwhelming favorite. And then at that point, it's just like, who's going to be there for second and third?
Yeah, it's really hard to have this as a factor for Meg, but I feel like she will come back with a vengeance. She's unbelievable. And this is just going to be fuel to her fire once she is healthy and can get going the way that she knows she can do. She believes, and that is more powerful than anything else, period. So I have high hopes for her. Absolutely.
100%. Shout out to the homie Meg. We wish you nothing but the best. I hope you have a speedy recovery. Marcus, what do you think?
I'm saving my prediction for the prediction section.
No predictions. I'm just saying. Do you agree with me? Like that's obviously a factor, right? Are you going to disagree with me?
Yes, I mean it's going to be huge. What are we? We're about 5 months out. So like you said, I mean I have no clue what those recoveries are like, but she's definitely going to have to be on top of her game, I think, come June. So we'll see. Obviously, she's shown in the past she seems like she can handle a lot and recover from just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, obviously, Debo took both of ours, so you're gonna have to come up with one. What are you watching for in the women's field?
Yeah, I have another one. I think that because of the qualification and having 2 times, there are a few athletes out there that have put up some great times that we haven't seen multiple from. And one of them being Kat Fassbender. I am really excited to see what she can do this year. She's part of the small group training. So I work with her and Rich. And yeah, she continues to impress me. And she's also been in DECA as well. So she did really awesome getting second at the DECA Fit World Champs just last month. She's fit, and I'm excited to see where she ends up. And same thing from DECA, Morgan Scholes always impresses me. I want to see her up there too. I know it was a little bit of a struggle with some illness, I think, at the end of last year, but she killed it at DECA Fit as well. So I can't wait to see how she does in her Hyrox season this year.
Yeah, I think those are good predictions. I mean, there are a lot of really quality women that are on the outside of the Elite 15 that I think, like, the women's field is quickly filling out, but it is also getting the new entrants are like making a statement. So obviously there's all the names that you just mentioned. We still have Maria Fetchik, who competed at the World Championships last year, who hasn't quite made it in yet, but I would expect that she does. Camilla Massa is technically on the outside looking in right now. She's outside of there. Then you've got other names, like someone I think that people probably should watch out for is you have Lucy Davis, who actually had the women's open world record, and then she raced her first pro. She was right there. I believe it was with Lucy Proctor. I could be getting that wrong, but she was right there in the race. And then she unfortunately had something that happened to her
farmer's carry.
Yeah, right. It was something that happened to her elbow, or she basically couldn't grip the she couldn't hold the farmer's carry. So she wound up Like if you go back and look, all of her run times were very fast. Her stations were great, but she had like a 5 or 6 minute farmer's carry because something in her forearm like blew up. And she wound up finishing, I think, with like a 67 or a 68. So you think like, oh, you get that down, and she's like right there.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of names of women that maybe it might be, to Marcus's point from earlier, it might be a little bit tough to get 2 races at this point. They might have to go to Barcelona if they really wanted to get in. But definitely as the 2025 calendar goes on, you're going to have to watch out for these people.
Yeah. Yeah, it continues to go down. Like I said, those times it's getting tougher, and when people are racing more too. I think we're noticing that as well, obviously because of the qualification and just trying to get your hands on a faster course, right? So it's the luck of the draw sometimes, but yeah, we'll have to keep watching out.
Well, and who was the woman? There was a woman who, and I do apologize, she was a high-level road runner for Great Britain. I'm gonna butcher this. She actually took the world record from Lucy at London with a 58:47. Sinead Bent. Is that how you say that?
That sounds right. Yeah.
I don't know if it's Sinead. So if anyone's listening and you'd like to correct my dumb American pronunciation, I will take it. But she ran in London, and her run times were after, well, I'm going to pull a rocks up, and I'm going to exclude run 1 and run 8. Here are her run times 2 through 7: 3:17, 3:25, 3:23, 3:24, 3:20, 3:31. So if she can figure out the strength side, like that's also someone that you got to definitely watch out for.
Absolutely.
So any final thoughts on things to watch for on the women's side?
Just, I know we have our North American bias here. We're talking about all North American people, but Lena Putters and Lucy
I just
Proctor.
brought up Lucy Davis. Lucy Davis is British.
Okay, that's an influencer
And Maria.
bias. That's an influencer bias from you.
Yeah, and Maria. She's Canadian.
I said North American.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, fair. You did. All right, fair.
But Lena Putters and Lucy Proctor, both of them making a debut in a major. I know Lena was, I believe, in Hong Kong, but didn't end up racing. So I think it'll be cool to see some new entrants in those major races as well.
For sure.
Agreed.
For sure. All right, in Rich Ryan fashion, on to the dudes. I guess it's my turn. What are we watching for in the men's field? I'm not going to make a prediction, but I am going to go hyper specific. What I'm watching for is I still think that there is one person who is probably the man to beat. And we'll keep that name close to the chest until we get there, because I don't know if people necessarily know who I think it is. But my prediction, or what I think people need to watch out for, is at World Championships, I don't think anyone is going to get the podium prediction right. And the reason why is because more so now than ever, I think that it used to be Hunter would go off at a breakneck pace. Nobody could keep up with him. And then he would just bury people by the second or third station. We proved last year that's not going to work anymore. And there was 2 people that could go with him, in Sandy and Ronkovich. And now think that actually is probably not the case. I think that Sandy, if he gets back to health, could go out. I think obviously we know that Ronk could go out. I think with the run that JK is on right now, assuming that he shows up to the start line healthy, JK will be able to go out. Ryland Shadeg plans on racing World Championships. We know that that's how Ryland races. So Ryland might be the one that takes it out. We know that Kent is feeling pretty good in terms of his health. We'll obviously see what happens with Vegas, but he's not going to let people get away from him. I don't think, I could be wrong, I doubt that Rich would let people get too far away. And I don't think Tim Vinish is afraid to lead either, based on what we saw in Hong Kong. So that is literally what I just named 8 people that might all go out at a breakneck pace. And we've never seen that many dudes that were willing to go to the hurt locker, for lack of a better term, early and sit there. And I think what's going to happen is we are going to have a blow up of epic proportions at World Championships. Like, I think that we'll probably see a pretty fast time for the win, but we might see some like epic explosions and some like pretty quote unquote bad times, because I just don't think that there's a chance that we have 4, 5, 6 people that all go together and that those 4, 5, 6 people wind up 1 through 6. Like, I just think that we're going to see some people really hurt themselves in the race and fall back. And I think it's going to cause someone or multiple people who are probably podium favorites to miss out on the podium because of the race itself.
I feel like I agree with you, but also disagree. I feel like the podium is...
Bring it. Disagree with me.
I feel like the podium is unpredictable, but I don't know if anyone is necessarily going to blow up. I just feel like everyone is kind of rounding out to have the same athletic ability. And what I mean by that is like the sleds aren't so much of a problem anymore. There's nothing, I feel like, in terms of the stations that are really setting people apart as much. And I think that's why people are pushing the runs, because that's where you're going to make up the time. I feel like this comes down to a running race when everyone is so close in time and ability. So I do feel like the podium is going to be unpredictable, but I don't know if there's going to be blowups. I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like people can just take it out.
I was thinking that the men are going to start racing smarter, actually, coming into these majors and world championships.
Disagreement. Let's go. This was it only took 42 minutes. Let's go.
We're going into a 55-minute race, and these guys just love to come out and go so hard in that first run and that first ski. When the ski is sort of, I mean, a 10-second difference on the ski could leave you feeling so much better. I think some people might start racing smarter, and I think it's actually going to come down towards the back half more in particular. I think that on the men's side, we've had this on the women's side, it seems like, for a while, where 100 sort of wall balls unbroken is sort of the standard. I mean, they're coming in there. If they need to do it, they'll just do it. I think that's going to be where the men need to be now. We started to have a few of them, like Graham Holiday always comes and gets a spot by doing 100 unbroken at the end. John Wynn, Bo Wills. Some guy, I think, got second in Dallas and did 100 wall balls. Can't remember his name, but so I think 100 wall balls will sort of become the standard. And I think,
it took me a second.
Shifts towards the end.
It took me a second. Nice shot that you just took right there. That's funny.
So yeah, sort of flipping how they've approached the race in the past.
Why would they do it this is an honest question. I know this is what the show is for, is healthy debate. Why would they do it any differently than they did it last year? Sandy and Rakovic took it and it almost worked. Like, for Sandy, like, it almost worked. I know it's a fine line, but like, he took it to everybody the whole time. And if he wouldn't have had like at the wall balls, like, he almost did it. So like, why would they change?
Didn't we already see in Hong Kong, though, that like everyone went out at a ridiculous pace? Like, it wasn't just Sandy. It was like everyone is doing it now. So I don't know if it's...
Yes, but my thought. So now I'll use specific names now because of why I think this is going to happen. We did see that, and Rylan went out at a really fast pace, and nobody went with him, really. Like, JK kind of did. JK covered the move a couple times.
Tim also went out super hard, so he barely hung on towards the end. He was falling apart. What I'm thinking is that those people who just almost caught him there, now they're going to have the capability to be a little bit quicker in the first half, not be all out, and they will end up catching them if they're going out hard. So I think those.
But Rylan and Hunter are going to go. Hunter McIntyre is not going to race conservatively. That dude doesn't do anything conservatively. He doesn't even know that word. Like, all he knows is full gas. So like, Hunter is going to go out. Rylan is 100% going to go with him. That's also how Rylan races. I think Ronk really believes that he should. He's the world champion. Ronk believes that he can do that. And we know that JK knows that he can do it too. So that's what I'm, if I would agree with you, if it was only one, like, I think that the field is smart enough that if it's just one person, you let them go. But if you're in a race and you see 2, 3, 4 people, that's just human nature.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about all this machismo, like male bravado. These are a bunch of raging bulls at the start line with caffeine and beta alanine flowing through their system. Like, we think that you really think that they're going to think with their head in that moment? Like, you're going to run the race.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I am wrong. I just don't think that, I think this also gets back to the difference between racing and time trialing. Like, I think in your time trialing, you think like, okay, I need to be conservative, but like in a race with everything to lose and like the world championship on the line, like, we all know where you go during a race. Like, do you really want to watch the field start to slip away? Because how many are actually going to come back? Because like I said, last year, it almost worked for Sandy. He did crack. We're talking about cracking, but we're talking about cracking and getting second place. Like, he almost held on.
Yeah.
And for Ronk, he didn't crack at all. And I don't think JK, I mean, not to give him too much credit, but like, I think that mindset right now is pretty bulletproof. Like, I don't think he's gonna crack.
I think the issue, like the time trialing thing, like you're running your race, right? Like, you know what your capabilities are, you know what your strengths and weaknesses are, but that's different when you're competing against people who may be a little bit faster at one thing over the other. And responding in a race, it will definitely affect everyone differently. And so, yeah, you're just going to have the benefit of being able to respond better, I feel like, in these races. I don't think you can do a time trial type thing. I think it's going to be hard to run your own race if it really is this close. And, these stations, if something, if you're better at, one station over the other, I really think you need to respond now. I think it's going to be harder and harder to run your own race and play it smart.
All right, so Debo and Michelle are against me. We'll put $5 down for the World Championships in Chicago. Whoever's right buys the other person a cup of coffee, preferably Resolute. All right, so that's that. I'll cede my time. Michelle, what are you watching for on the men's side?
Men's side. Well, I'll go back to my North American bias here. We
love it. Shout out North America.
We are going to have a battle in Vegas. I feel like it's going to be a run battle. I was able to witness Rich and Dylan in Dallas, and I want more of the same. So I'm looking for a run battle in Vegas, and Kent's going to be there too. So I'm excited to see what those three can do. And I really do feel like it's going to come down to the runs. Feel like the stations are getting closer and closer in terms of ability, and it's a runner's race. I feel like I believe that now.
100%. We're also, JK is coming over. We know JK is going to run. Hunter is running. He posted the other day that he just did another sim, and he did, I mean, for what it's worth, he did a sim 3.5 minutes faster than what he did a sim a week before Anaheim. So, he's feeling good. It is definitely, being good at the stations isn't good enough anymore. If you can't run, you're going to have a tough time. I think that's very fair. Thoughts on that, Debo?
Yeah, I mean, the stations, eventually there's only so much time you can gain. So yeah, I agree. It's going to continue to be like that, which is where maybe I think Hunter, as before he was one of the fast runners, I think now that's where the gap is really closing on him. So yeah, it will be interesting to see him back in Las Vegas.
For sure. Debo, what are we watching for on the men's side?
Men's side, I'm excited to see if there will be any new qualifiers for the World Champs. Currently, everyone who has qualified has been there before. On the women's side, we had Ida and Joanna already as new entrants. So as far as the majors go, Sean Noble, Jake Dearden would be some new faces. Otherwise, it's all sort of locked in. I know we've talked about before how if once you're sort of in those majors, you're in the world championships, it's a lot easier to stay there. So
don't disrespect Rylan. Rylan hasn't run a world championship before.
Qualified for world champs.
Oh,
he qualified at Chicago for last season.
Oh, new qualifiers. Got it.
Yeah, so new qualifier. Yeah, because there were a few, even like Tim didn't run last year, but has qualified. So yeah, so just looking at that, and then also the guy who always performs, Tobias Lotwain, sixth at Worlds last year. It's looking like he might need to go to the last chance qualifier in Barcelona. So interested to see if he'll make it back.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll race. It sounded like maybe he just, I believe he's a father of 4, and just with his career, I think it's getting a little bit harder to stay on top of training. So it'll be interesting to see if he finds a way to make it in. I think that's fair. And whereas like the women's field, or whereas like the men's field, that felt like there was like, oh, there's all these new names and competing. You're definitely right, Marcus. It seems like we have kind of consolidated around a top 15 with like some interchangeable athletes down to like 20, 22, that kind of range. There's people that could break in or who could be a threat to kind of get into that like middle pack. But you're right. Like it's definitely pretty, it does seem a little bit solidified there. Whereas the women's field is like wide open, you know, cause for a while, like I think like 2 years ago, it was always the same women. And now it's not. We've got different women in every major who potentially have a shot to get in. So yeah, I definitely think that's a fair call out. All right. We did it. We did our what to watch for. Now our time for way too early predictions. And I'm not going to put a limit on how many predictions you want to make. We'll popcorn this around. I believe I just went to start, so that would make it Michelle's turn. Michelle, what is your way too early and spicy predict? Or it doesn't have to be spicy, I guess. But what's your way too early prediction for the rest of the season?
Well, which one do I go for? How about a world record going down? I feel like that's not too bad of a prediction, but I feel like
men's or women's?
Women's. I feel like there's a lot of potential there, and once we get into another major course setup, I feel like those times are going to be they're going to be going down. Lauren Weeks just annihilated Deca Fit, so I can't wait to see what she does next. Yeah, I feel like world records are on the watch for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I think that it will eventually be broken, I'm sure, but the 53:22 by Hunter feels fairly untouchable for a while. We haven't even gotten, the next closest person was JK in Cologne a year ago, and he was still 40 seconds behind. I mean, that is, to get under 53, to get a 53:21, I mean, that is going to be a crazy time. So I think that's fair. Yeah. Debo, way too early predictions.
Can I go all the way to the end of the season?
Yeah.
I think we have 2 brand new world championships this year. World champions this year. James Kelly and Joanna Whiterick representing for Australia.
You think the Aussies are going to do it, huh? Clean sweep.
Hyrox is going crazy in Australia, and I think they're just going to stoke the fire a little more. JK, obviously, he's been on a rise. He's been probably one of the most consistent performers and getting better every time. And Joanna, I mean, she's 22 years old. Her first race was in June, and it was the end of June. So it was basically like July. So you think about that, that's basically, she has as much time between now and the world champs as she did between her first race and now. So she's only going to get better. I think that the younger you are, you know, you can almost hit this world champs before you even realize what's happening. And then all of a sudden she can be champ. It might be harder to defend it than it is to get the first one. So yeah, I think we got Australia bringing home 2 world titles.
Debo just managed to infuriate all of RMR and the hybrid engine in one fell swoop. Debo, Debo might be looking for a new training program, and he might need to reach out to the Aussies himself.
Okay, JK is hybrid engine. He's the coach of Joanna, so it's like a coaching tree.
There's momentum there. There's definitely momentum.
I think that I like the JK pick better than I like the Joanna pick. I think that Joanna is going to be a force for a really long time, and I think that she will eventually be there. I think that, and again, it's your prediction, not mine. I still think that the chances that on the biggest stage that she's going to clear 2 massive hurdles in Meg and Lauren. I think, but that's your spicy take. So I respect it. Respect. I like you going out on a limb. My way too early prediction is, I think Hunter McIntyre is the greatest to ever do it up until this point. And that could change because we're still talking about a sport that's only 6 or 7 years old. We have seen Hunter fall before, but every time he falls, it like does something to him mentally of like, that man will beat himself until he gets back to where he needs to get. And I think that people sometimes forget and don't necessarily respect the run of dominance that he had. I think that I don't want to say he didn't take it super seriously last year, but I think he thought like, I'm just better than everyone else. And if I just do what I always do, I'm going to still be better than everyone else. And I think that he was humbled after Worlds, and he has changed some things, having seen some of the training that he's doing. I was taking it seriously, some of the times that he's running. I think that for me, I still think, and this is not a popular opinion right now, especially in the podcast space for Hyrox, I think Hunter's the man to beat. And I think you got to beat him more than once to say otherwise. And I'll be interested to see what happens. I think we'll know pretty quick. I don't think he's going to be in his best possible shape by Vegas. It's just not really how he operates. But I think he's going to be in pretty good shape. And I think we're going to know, like, was World Championships a sign of things to come, or was it an aberration? I personally think it was an aberration, but we'll find out in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I just wish we'd see him race more, to be honest. I feel like it's hard for me to believe that fully unless I see him compete more. Obviously, we'll see at Vegas what happens. So I think by then I'll have a little bit more to say on that. But yeah, it's obviously he's got an awesome track record. We'll see where he's at.
Yeah, well, Hunter is Debo's favorite athlete in Hyrox, so I know Debo has opinions on this.
I agree with Michelle. I think the people that we have seen really make these rides, like Ronk, JK, they race a lot. And I think that's something that maybe he hasn't had to do in the past, but that he maybe should start doing now. So I think that's where he might be missing. I mean, coming down to a world championship, it's going to be so close, where I think that could be just lacking those races during the season is something that could come back to get him.
You just learn so much from your opponents too when you're there.
I hear you. And he has 3 of the top 10 fastest men's times with the way that he races, and he has a time that I do not know if it'll be touched for a while. And the previous world record before JK ran a little bit faster than that in Cologne was the comeback year, where he basically took the entire fall off because he was going to get into paddleboarding, and then came back and blew it up. So I'm just saying, I hear you. I get it. I'm probably on an island here because I think a lot of people, they think that, now it's a 3-horse or a 4-horse race. I'm just saying, I still think he's been doing this. I think the difference between him and some of the other people that we mentioned is he's been doing this for a very long time, in the sense of like, it predates Hyrox. Like, he's been racing. I think he knows how to race and he knows his body. Whereas some of these people, haven't necessarily they've done like competitive sports, but haven't done necessarily competitive racing. So we'll see. We'll find out in Vegas. We'll circle back. We'll put $1 on that one, and that'll cover the tip for the coffee. So we're right at the hour mark. Any other bold predictions? Way too early predictions.
I tried to go as bold as possible right off the gate, so I'm good.
Yeah, you know what? Let's leave it at that.
All right. Well, then I'll give one more bold prediction. I actually do believe he's gonna be like, dude, you got to be kidding me. I actually believe this is the year of Rich Ryan.
I was hoping we'd go the whole hour without saying his name.
This is the year of Rich Ryan. The dude, he's pulling out of the Hyrox podcasting game. The dude's focused, body, spirit, and mind. He's baking shit, making bread, like finding his inner zen. I think
Power of the sourdough.
Power of the sourdough. Top 5 at Worlds for Rich Ryan.
Top 3 at Worlds.
Whoa! Dang, that's crazy.
He's on another level. He just is. You can see it.
We'll see. I think Vegas will tell us a lot, but I think our boy's gonna do it. Any final thoughts, Michelle, Debo?
That's all I got.
I'm good here.
All right. Well, as always, I appreciate you all joining. So much taking time out of your day, out of your morning. Michelle, for dealing with the Milwaukee boys and our terrible internet connections. That's all we got. Peace out. Talk to y'all next week.
Later.